Hola amigos, bien o no, y saludos desde Medellín. Hoy el tema es para demostrar para ustedes cómo solo utilizando el pausa cuando tú estás leyendo o estás hablando, solo utilizando el pausa puede mejorar muchas veces más tu nivel de expresión con un punto más fluido. Igual si tú no tienes mucho más cambia en su tono de voz. So ese es el tema de hoy. So, hello from Medellin. Here we are again. So today I'm going to show you by demonstrating with a reading. This is a reading I did with one of my students earlier today. But it's a very interesting technique I'm going to show you because I'm conscious that perhaps a lot of you have now reached a level where you can read things quite easily, your vocabulary is quite high, your understanding of the words is very good, but when it comes to reading, you're finding it difficult to read with a natural sounding expression, either perhaps because you find you're reading very fast, or you're not feeling you're getting enough actual expression into the words you're saying. So I'm going to show you a way of bringing a lot more expression into what you say just by adding pauses. So without really changing very much of the expression in your voice. So to do this, I'm going to read you a paragraph from a text I was reading with one of my students today. I'm going to read it for you in a couple of different ways, again, so you can listen to the difference. So I encourage you to listen to the difference of this. I'll put the actual text in the description of the video, so you can have a read of it later. But look at particularly where I pause and why. So let's have a go. So the first time I'm going to read this in perhaps a rather bad way. I'm going to read this probably a little too fast with no expression. So you get like a bad example and then we'll improve it. Science and aesthetics, while seemingly distinct, are intertwined in their shared goal of seeking truth. Whether through the symmetry of an equation, the balance of a theory, or the grace of a medical treatment, science carries within it a profound sense of beauty. The development of scientific investigation from ancient times to the modern day reflects humanity's ongoing quest to understand the world, not only in a factual sense, but also in an ideal aesthetic one. In this pursuit, science, much like art, becomes a reflection of our deepest values, our search for harmony, and our need for meaning in an often chaotic world. Oof. Wow. One thing is difficult to say. It's actually difficult to read at that speed because there's not much room to breathe. But I'll be honest, I've heard people speak at that kind of pace. I had a professor at university who used to read his lectures at that kind of speed. But he didn't enjoy reading. But we don't need to do that. Let's not make his mistake. So let's show you a different way to do this. So I'm just going to read the same text, but this time all I'm going to do is keep a nice neutral voice. I'm just going to pause in front of the more important words that I need you as my audience to listen to. See the difference. Science and aesthetics, while seemingly distinct, are intertwined in their shared goal of seeking truth. Whether through the symmetry of an equation, the balance of a theory, or the grace of a medical treatment, science carries within it a profound sense of beauty. The development of scientific investigation, from ancient times to the modern day, reflects humanity's ongoing quest to understand the world, not only in a factual sense, but also in an ideal, aesthetic one. In this pursuit, science, much like art, becomes a reflection of our deepest values, our search for harmony and our need for meaning in an often chaotic world. Now, if you listen carefully to that I just read back, my voice isn't really moving very much. I'm not moving the voice up and down with particular words. My voice is still a fairly neutral tone, but I'm using pauses to help you focus on the more important words. So without moving your voice too much, you get a much easier, a version that's much easier to understand. It's also a lot easier to read, because by adding the pauses, I've slowed down slightly. Let me show you that again. Science and aesthetics, while seemingly distinct, are intertwined in their shared goal of seeking truth. Whether through the symmetry of an equation, the balance of a theory, or the grace of a medical treatment, science carries within it a profound sense of beauty. The development of scientific investigation, from ancient times to the modern day, reflects humanity's ongoing quest to understand the world, not only in a factual sense, but also in an ideal, aesthetic one. In this pursuit, science, much like art, becomes a reflection of our deepest values, our search for harmony and our need for meaning in an often chaotic world. There we go. So, I encourage you, have a listen to that one, and if you can, have a read of the text I'll share in the description, and look at where I'm pausing, because that's really the only thing I'm doing to add more expression into my reading. As I hope you saw from the first reading I did, one trap we can fall into, particularly if we feel a bit stressed because, oh no, I have to do this reading, is we try and say all the words as quickly as possible. Now that might be technically something you can do because I can read the words fast, but you're losing expression. But if you're not sure which words to put more emphasis on particularly, in the sense of where to modulate the voice more up and down, the easiest thing to do is keep your voice quite neutral. So read the words pretty much with the same intonation for each of the words, but to use pauses to help you with emphasis. And this way you should avoid ending up with one of those sing-songy type voices where you're putting stress on the wrong words, which can be just as difficult to understand as reading too fast. So until you're very confident with the words you want to put emphasis on, I think the easier thing to try is to focus on the pauses. Have a go. Déjame saber en los comentarios, como siempre. But for now, from Medellin, we'll say cheerio.